First, I'm going to ask you, what is your name?
Sharon White.
Thank you, Miss Sharon. I'm going to start with some questions here. Why is women's history important to you?
So that we won't forget what those who have come before us have done for us, particularly the women in our lives, or women historically.
Absolutely. Who are some of the women who inspire or have inspired you, and why?
Well, obviously my mother and both my grandmothers, and then I had various female teachers through the years, and historically I've always admired like women who were the first. I don't know if I can think of any particular people right now, but who were the first to step out there and do something that hadn't been done before. Helen Keller, I mean, not that hers was a different kind of circumstance, but she certainly accomplished a lot considering her disabilities.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit more about the teachers that inspired you. How did they inspire you?
Well, my mother was not besides my mother, she was a teacher, and then my aunt was also a teacher, and both of them turned out well. My aunt was never married, so she was a career teacher from the beginning, and 35, 40 years that she taught, and then she got her speech therapy certification back when not a lot of people did that. And my mother had her degree when got her degree. In fact, she went to North Texas. A lot of the people she was from Taylor County and down in there, and so they went to North Texas to get teaching certifications, and she then was able to start teaching after my father died, and when she still had 4 kids at home. And so that always impressed me that she had prepared herself for a professional career.
All right, that sounds amazing. How has women's history been represented in Friona?
Well, there again, we've had the clubhouse and the women who built that. When I found out the history of that building, it really fascinated me, because those women in the late 30s started collecting their money, and nobody had any money in the 30s. So how they were able to accomplish that and get money together and then convince people to bring rock from New Mexico or wherever it was that they brought it from, and built a building, that just has always really inspired me. Of course, my grandmother came in 1908 with my grandfather and a baby girl from Indiana. And I always, and now I wish I'd ask her more questions about, because they settled on a place 10 miles west of Friona where there was no house to begin with. They lived with friends, and then they built a small house out on this dry land piece of land. And then she had children very quickly, because by 1918 she had 5 more kids.
Oh my goodness.
And she could have been a concert pianist but she gave that up to come with my grandpa. And he wanted to farm, and land was really cheap here. Well, his father had bought the land, and then his father had died. So he came to settle the land.
Wow. What are some ways that you celebrate Women's History Month?
That's a real good question. I don't know that I've celebrated except to read articles and read presentations that I see. I'm a Facebook scroller througher, and so I've noticed a lot of important stories that I didn't know before. So I love reading about the different people who came before, and then I think we celebrate women and what they do a lot in Friana, just because the newspaper certainly prints stories about their achievements, and then that's recorded for history because that's essentially the best source that we have.
Absolutely. In your opinion, how can others be an ally for women in marginalized groups?
Well, I had a very interesting conversation with a person, with a woman, happened to be at Senior Mills, and I did not know her before then, and I was reluctant to, carry on a conversation at first because I wasn't real sure of her English level, and my Spanish level is not very good, but once we started talking and got acquainted, she was so gracious to talk to me, and we found common ground between her son and my grandson. And so I guess what I'm saying is I wish that there were more opportunities maybe because other than our church groups, I don't know that there's an opportunity for women of mixed and varied backgrounds to really get to know each other. I really, that's what I miss about teaching, because in that setting, I think one does get to know people that you wouldn't ordinarily get to meet. And one person I met, I taught in Bovina several years because my brother was on the school board here. And in Bovina, my helper at the time, paraprofessional person, I couldn't have done it without her because I had 31st graders one year, and she took the ones who needed the most help in English instruction and just made a group out of them. And then, of course, after a while, they picked up on a lot of English, and we could incorporate them together. But then she got her teaching certification. I don't know when after we were together, and then she taught here in Friana a few years, and so, good for her. And I do find that we have more, if you want to call them minorities or recent people, and a lot of the girls that I taught are in professional careers. A lot of nurses.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your favorite female historical figure?
Well, other than Helen Keller that I mentioned, I want to say that Eleanor Roosevelt was very, very impressive in that she was known not just because her husband was president, but because of the stands that she took on various issues, and she wasn't afraid to say what she thought. So I've always admired reading about her. And
she's a strong woman.
Strong, evidently, very, very strong. And well, I think any of our presidents' wives had to be very, very strong people.
What can other people do to support you and others as a woman?
Well, probably listen, because I have been in some arenas where maybe one of our representatives or senators or somebody has come to Friana to, just to ask questions and all. And it's not that I don't feel like I'm received, but I always get a little bit of a feeling that what I was asking was not as important. The questions that I was asking maybe weren't as important as some of the business people. So I think that's more of an individual matter than it is. I can't think how anything could be organized per se that would remedy that situation. But maybe just awareness on some of the parts of particularly I think the leaders in our community are certainly aware. Greg is the mayor. I think he's very inclusive-minded, as is Lee, for sure. So I think we have a lot of positives going for us.
Well, thank you for coming to speak to us. We're hoping to start this new tradition every year to celebrate with National Women's Month.
Well, that's a very important start, is to recognize that we have one.
Absolutely.
And to celebrate.
Thank you.
Thank you.